All right, it's early Friday afternoon and we're about to embark on our first family Model Y road trip. We're all excited about this, and I think the first problem I'm going to have is how do I fill all of this storage space? But that's my first project, is getting loaded up. Hello and welcome to the fairly busy Eau Claire supercharger. There are 4 cars here and a Model X just pulled up, so somebody's going to be sharing. We'll see where he pulls in, but we only need 5 more minutes at the rate we're getting. The thing that really struck me is how incredibly fast, first of all, going from the Model S with no navigation to the Model Y with navigation is a huge change, and it was spot on accurate all the way here. So really glad to see that. And then when we plugged in, we're at about 50%. We were pulling, I think, 123 kilowatts when we first plugged in. We're up to 67% now, so down to 83 kilowatts coming in. And it looks like the Model X is going to share our spot, so that's going to go down. Like I said, we've only got a few more minutes here, so it should be fine. Oh, we got a Model 3 pulling in here too, so we are filling up fast here in Eau Claire. Like I said, we'll be moving soon, and talk to you later. Okay, we've just left Eau Claire, and that supercharger was hopping. There were 4 cars when we got there, and then 2 more pulled up as we were filling up. So we left a little earlier than I had planned on, but we still have plenty to get there. I think we're still going to get there with 24%, and then we'll see what the charging situation is when we arrive. And that's something I have intentionally not looked up until now. When we're on the road, I'll look it up because I want to try to figure it out, whatever situation we're in. We should have enough to get to another charger if needed. The trip's been really easy so far. We stopped at Eau Claire for about as short as we could have. We could have maybe gone a little faster, but we did a diaper change. Each of us took a bathroom break, and we got plenty of charge. So really impressive there, and it did the whole preconditioning thing. So far this is super easy, and now I don't even have to drive.
Me neither.
Oh, welcome to the cabin. I almost didn't see you there as I'm doing my whittling. So we've had quite an exciting time today. We pulled in yesterday with plenty of charge because we did stop nearby at the Mauston supercharger. And we made that stop for a couple of reasons. First was to use the restroom. And the second was to make sure we had enough charge, not knowing what the situation would be when we got here at the cabin. But we were able to plug in yesterday, and between overnight and then around noon today when we left, we were able to get near 30% charge back just on 120 volt power. So that was really convenient, easy to plug in, a nice stretch right from the deck to the car. So great situation. And we didn't use all that in our travels today, so we're already starting trickle charging again tonight, and we'll be starting with far more than we got here with Friday night. Now originally I joked about how much space there was in the car and that we'd never be able to fill it. And we really didn't, but knowing we had all that space, we packed extra jackets, a bigger cooler, and all sorts of things that's way overkill for a 3-day trip for 3 people. So we did kind of fill the trunk up a little bit, but still there was plenty of storage space to get us through this weekend. So this morning we relaxed in the cabin a little bit, went to a nearby playground on the grounds here. Then after the playground, we kind of wandered around near the golf course areas and found another little lake with a fountain and some nice areas to play around there too. Like I said, we left here around noon today and went into Wisconsin Dells for a boat cruise at 1 p.m. So we grabbed lunch in town and headed over to the docks and took a nice 2-hour tour down the river and back up again. Couple really cool stops. We weren't there very long, but one is called, I think, the Witch's Gulch or something like that. And just the overhanging rocks just came right. It looked like something out of something Disney World would have copied or something out of Avatar or something. So really cool. Then after that and a little more walking around town, we came back here and my wife made pizza for dinner. And then we headed out to a state natural area, a gorge trail, so we hiked that. We ended up kind of on the banks of the river near where the boat had gone by. So kind of cool to have seen people sitting there while we were on the boat and then to be there for sunset tonight. So that was pretty fantastic. And we're here early enough in the year that there weren't any bugs or anything, so also just incredible. Checkout time is at 10 tomorrow morning, and then we might go into town and do some other fun things. We'll see how everybody's feeling in the morning. But then we'll get out of here and head back to Minnesota, and hopefully the rest of the road trip is as smooth as the first half. But I'm going to have to leave you there for tonight. It's almost getting too dark to whittle. Nah, never too dark to whittle. Ah! Good morning and welcome to Boston. Actually, it's just past noon now, so we've decided to stop here for lunch, even though we started the day with about 74%, and then went back to that hiking trail and out to the beach again. We're going to go home a little different way. Although we didn't need to charge to La Crosse, we're going to stop here in Boston because it's at the Culvers and we can get a bite to eat. It's now noon, so doing that, and then gonna hit the road. We might not need to stop all the way home. We'll have to wait and see, but I've got the limit set to 95% because we're gonna stop here, eat. It might be plenty to get all the way back to Burnsville before we have to plug in again. But we'll see. We might need another restroom break in the meantime, so we'll have to play that by ear as we go along. Alright, we're at the 6-stall supercharger in La Crosse, Wisconsin. We decided to come this way. It's slightly longer of a way to get home, but we figured it was a change of pace, a little different scenery, and I'd never been to this charger before, so a good place to stop. In Boston, we were there longer than we needed to be. I had to unplug because we were going to get idle charges even after charging up to 95%. So preconditioning the battery really helps even at a higher state of charge. We got there somewhere in the 60s and went to 95% before we were able to get lunch and eat it. So that was plenty fast. Again, the superchargers on these modern cars are faster than a family road tripping. Here in La Crosse, we only needed to be here 10 minutes to make it all the way home. And already we're past that. My wife walked across the road to the Home Depot to use the restroom, and I'm going to do that after she's finished. We'll probably be here 20 minutes on our own, and we'll keep charging, but we'll have more than enough to get home. So when there are ample chargers and you have a fast charging car, it's really no problem, especially with a family. We saw some beautiful views coming this way. I'm not sure I've ever come home in this direction, so that was really cool to see. I don't know if it's going to translate on the GoPro, but very nice drive and another beautiful day for driving. There is a little headwind we're driving into, but it's nothing terrible. As we cross the river down by the bluffs, that should be pretty nice too. So good day for a drive, and we're just taking it casual and taking it easy. All right, we got home yesterday, a great trip, a very easy drive. We got home around 4:30 in the afternoon and unloaded the car and stuff before we had a small rainstorm here. We didn't need to stop in Boston. Again, we were, well charged up, but I'm coming from the mindset of the Model S where you charge every chance you get and you top up as much as you possibly can at those stops. So at Boston, I was paying attention to how much traffic there was, and there were always plenty of spots open. And a couple Model 3s came and went, just stopping for like 10 minutes each. And we were probably there close to maybe a half hour. Got up to 95% before we were even done and unplugged so we didn't have idle fees. But, just kind of have that mindset of, get as much as you can while you can. Use every opportunity. And then the fastest way to get home was actually come the same way that we came, where we go through Eau Claire and everything. But I've been to the Eau Claire supercharger many times, and it's usually fairly busy. And I kind of wanted to change of pace coming home. So we decided to go a more southerly route leaving Boston, I used the navigation in the car to navigate specifically to La Crosse, knowing we wanted to take that southerly route on I-90. And then once we were well on our way on I-90, then I set the navigation to our home. And that was great. It kept us on I-90 going through La Crosse, said we needed to stop there for 10 minutes. And when we got to La Crosse, it actually said we would, when I plugged in, that we would get home with 0%. Obviously, we don't want to cut it that close, but that just really shows the ridiculous range of the Model Y. That, charging to 95 in Boston, we probably could have made it, especially if we went the other way, probably could have made it all the way to home with enough charge. So that's fantastic, and obviously, we needed bathroom stops in there anyway. And when we got to La Crosse, it said just charge for 10 minutes and be on your way. Because I had the charge limit set to 95%, the car went all that way, and I unplugged it then before we left again so we wouldn't be getting idle fees or taking up a spot if more people showed up, although only one other car stopped at the charger while we were there. But I got a message on the touchscreen saying that for the health of the battery, really just charge up what you need to get on your way, because we had navigated to home in the navigation, so it knew how much charge we needed. Again, that mindset of the Model S is get every mile you can while you're charging. But also the Model S had free supercharging. So for, just cost-saving purposes, it would have been smart to unplug sooner. I need to break myself out of that mental habit of getting every ounce of charge and just trust that we're going to get there with plenty and just follow the guidance of the car or a better route planner and give yourself a little buffer, but don't go crazy with it. Big change I need to get used to in future road trips, but I just thought that was really interesting. On the Autopilot front, I had Navigate on Autopilot on most of the time. On the way out, while we were still in the Twin Cities, we had an interesting situation where I was in the far left lane, going to go back to the center lane, and there was someone in the far right lane who I couldn't see, who also wanted to get into that center lane. And I had Navigate on Autopilot on, but I was like, okay, well, I can get out of the passing lane. So I signaled to get over, and we started making the move, and then it jerked us back into the left lane. I'm like, what in the world's going on? My wife was like, what did you just do? And I couldn't see, even though I looked, I couldn't see that car in the far right lane was also moving to the spot we were going to be. But the car saw it and moved us out of the way. Now, the guy behind us also saw we had come over, so we both split back into our two different lanes. And then eventually traffic kind of evened out where we were both able to get there. But I thought that was really a great example of having that extra set of eyes. You look, you think but, people miss stuff. And so great that the cameras and the sensors all work together to, save us a collision, or at least, a bigger frustration had we really cut somebody off in a severe way. I-90 through southern Wisconsin and southern Minnesota had very light traffic. So Navigate on Autopilot just did a fantastic job navigating on Autopilot. And I monitored it and made a few, changes, little like, oh, I want to get over here now, or we have a little time before that exit, let's pass somebody and then get in line for that. But no complaints there. One thing I will say with Navigate on Autopilot or Autopilot, when you're traveling with passengers, sometimes you're in sync as the driver with what's going on and what you're going to do, when you're going to cancel it, when you're going to make an adjustment, but your passengers aren't. And so sometimes the beeping or kind of a swift takeover move or something might be a little alarming to passengers. I guess use it judiciously. I know there were a couple times where, my wife was like, what's going on? And a couple times when she was driving where I was like, what's going on? If you're going to do a lot of taking over, maybe turning it off for a little while is a good idea and driving yourself. And then when you get back to an open stretch of road, then turning it back on. And it might be easier on your passengers, just so they aren't feeling like something's going wrong, even if you're in complete control. But there again, that's a style thing and a comfort level of your passengers, and you'll know how you react and how your family reacts better than anyone else. People make a big deal about all the nags and, oh, it's so annoying, and driving like that is so difficult. But for me, I just put my elbow on the windowsill and my hand on the steering wheel and just kind of keep constant pressure, or hold down below and keep just a tiny bit of torque on. And that keeps the nags from even showing up half the time. Occasionally I'll see one and put a little added pressure one way or the other, and it's a breeze. And so I didn't have any problems with that. One cool thing I didn't expect to use on the trip was the gaming in the Tesla toy box or entertainment section. And because of the nature of the place we were staying, my wife had to go in and do a pretty lengthy check-in process when we arrived on Friday night. And my daughter was content to just run around the back seat and play with her toys. And I was just kind of sitting there twiddling my thumbs, and you can check Twitter and all that. But then I realized, hey, I've got beach buggy racing in here, and I've got controllers. Pulled that out and just won a few races. And that was really cool. And then Saturday afternoon, after we were done with the boat cruise, we went to a grocery store. And again, because we're, in COVID times, it was just made the most sense to just send one person in. So my wife went in to do the shopping. And my daughter and I, again, were, she played in the back of the car, and I'm just sitting here like, well, I'm going to win some more races. So got beach buggy out and played a little more of that. And time went by like that. And a lot of fun. And the other families that were waiting were just sitting there bored. So I really enjoyed that. And it's not just for, oh, Teslas take so long to charge, you have to play games while it charges. No, it's good for just the everyday, times you have to wait in the car. Another thing people ask about a lot is the all-glass roof. And yesterday was really sunny, and really so was our drive out there. And neither day did I have any complaints about, oh, it feels really hot, or I feel the sun baking me, or anything like that. At a couple times I did notice, like if I look up, oh, the sun's right there. And noticeable when you're looking for it. But as a driver, like I said, I had to be looking for it to really notice. I didn't feel any extra heat or anything like that. I feel really good about how that is now. It was in the mid-60s, not in the 110-degree kind of weather, but anything gets hot in that kind of weather. So really no complaints there. So in total, with our drive out there and our drive around town, and then coming home, we traveled 518 miles, which is not really that big of a road trip. It's probably a pretty typical weekend getaway road trip, but when I did my distance test between ICE vehicles, hybrid, and the Model S, and then the Model Y, we saw that in 8 hours of driving, 500 miles is pretty, realistic for a day of driving pretty comfortably. So going 518 over the course of a weekend was nothing. So really easy and really easy charging situations. It was a huge comfort knowing we had different charging options. And it was kind of amazing to do this trip knowing how many chargers we either passed or could have passed along the way. Because both of our stops at Mauston were pretty optional. And so we could have done the drive each way with only one stop. The one stop on the way out in Eau Claire, and then the other stop at Crosse on our way home. And we easily could have done that, especially with being able to charge on 120 at the cabin. And so there again, from my first road trip in the Model S in 2018 to this trip, it was just a breeze. And really, in any gas car we would have done this trip in, we would have needed 2 stops for restroom breaks or food stops anyway. I would say the Model Y can pretty much keep up with gas cars, especially with family vacations. And another thing I noticed was a lot of the vehicles at the other cabins and campground areas and places were either, the Ford F-150 type pickups, Silverados, all that kind of stuff, or they were crossover SUVs. And I was just noticing as we drove through the different cabin areas, almost everything SUV-wise was about the size of the Model Y. On one hand, it shows you how huge that market segment is. But on the other hand, I'm looking at it going, you guys are spending so much on gas. And this is almost the exact same vehicle. And now the initial price is cheaper for, something like a Ford Escape or something like that. But, it just shows how many people could switch over, maybe not both their vehicles, but at least one vehicle to electric, and have a really great experience with a vehicle about the size of what they're used to. Another thing to talk about is the consumption rate. And I think we ended up with something like 326 watt hours per mile. But that's about 100 less, I think, than what it would have been in the Model S. So much more efficient, even though we were fighting the wind. That's how the real world works. At times we were doing much better than that, and at times we were doing worse. But for that 518 miles to be at an average of 326 watt hours per mile, I thought was fantastic. And again, just shows how much the technology is advanced and how efficient these vehicles are. And this trip was so easy, it's frankly a little disheartening because there's not a lot of drama. With the Model S, it was always, me figuring it out because it didn't have navigation and, trying to sort out what's the best charging strategy. And with this, it's like, you need a 10-minute stop, kinda. It keeps road trips equivalent to gas cars, and that's great. But the drama of an electric road trip and will we make it, at least in, the area we were in, there's just no drama. So I could play some spooky music and make it seem like we weren't going to get to any of our locations, but really it was going to happen. We were well set up and overcharged almost the entire time. In fact, when we got home yesterday, I considered not plugging in even though we were at 24%, just to give the car a break from being at such a high charge rate. I did set the limit down to 70 for home charging because I don't have a lot of errands to run this week, and I might not plug it in tonight. But good to be home. The Model Y did great, plenty of space. Even when we got home, after the car was unloaded, my daughter still wanted to sit in the back and play with her toys in the back of the car. So she clearly wasn't sick of hanging out in the car. All in all, a great family road trip in the Model Y. Just a long weekend adventure, but thank you for coming along with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. And if you didn't, thanks for sitting through it anyway. But have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.